seconds.
Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings, to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.
Whenever you're ready, Steve.
Okay. This is the August 17th meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. All members are present except for Gage. Mike Swisher, would you sit in for Gage? Thank you.
Yes, I will.
Due to COVID-19 precautions and in accordance with Governor Sunnu's Emergency Order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this commission is authorized to meet electronically. As stated, the agenda, the meeting is being aired on Merrimack TV, Channel 20, and the Merrimack TV Facebook Live page. Telephone access is available for members of the public wishing to provide comment. The number's at the bottom of the screen. Also identified in the agenda is the opportunity for public comment to be submitted leading up to the start of the meeting. We will not via email. We won't be reviewing emails from this point forward. And before we get started, just a matter of housekeeping, I'll go ahead and start, but as stated, I'm participating electronically due to COVID-19 related precautions. I am alone in this room. No one else is with me, and I can hear the proceedings. Gina, would you go next?
Yes, I'm Gina Rosati. I am participating electronically from home. Attendance in person is not reasonably practical due to COVID-19. My family is home, but I am alone in the room I am in. I can hear the proceedings.
Thank you, Gina. Mike Bover.
Unmute, Mike.
Mike Boisvert. I'm anticipating electronically due to COVID-19. I'm alone in this room right now. I can hear everybody fine. Now that I'm unmuted, you can hear me.
I hear you loud and clear. Thanks, Mike. Cindy.
I'm Cindy Glenn, participating electronically due to COVID-19 concerns. I am alone in the room and I can hear the proceedings.
Thank you. Mike Swisher.
I'm Mike Swisher. I'm participating electronically due to COVID-19. I can hear everyone fine. I'm alone in the room I'm in while my family is elsewhere.
Thank you. Eric.
My name is Eric Starr. I am participating electronically due to COVID-19. I am alone in my house and I can hear everyone just fine.
Thank you, Eric. Tim?
Yeah, I am Tim Tenhave. I am participating electronically due to concerns with COVID-19. I can hear everyone just fine. I am alone in this room, but there are family in the house. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And Pete?
Peter Albert. I'm participating electronically from my home due to COVID-19. I'm alone in this room, but I have family members in the house. I can hear you.
Thank you very much. And just a reminder, all our votes tonight will be taken via roll call, and I'll try to go in this very same order every time. Let's see, do we have any public comment? Just gonna wait 30 seconds here and see if anyone's hand flies up. I don't suspect they will. Okay, no public comment, no public hearings, no appointments, which brings us to statutory advisory business. first item we have on the agenda. Let's see, Nick, will their cameras go on automatically? They will. Excellent. All right. The first item of statutory business is Bowers Landing of Merrimack LLC, applicant owner. Review for the recommendation to the planning board of a site plan to construct 72 multifamily residential units in phase 7 of the Harris Pond planned unit development. This parcel is located off of Bowers Landing Drive in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation District, tax map 1D, lots 1 through 4. And each member of the commission has reviewed your formal letter and has the maps that we're looking at now. So you want to just give us the overview of this? Who do we have?
Absolutely. My name is Matt Peterson with Keach Nordstrom Associates, here representing the Bowers Landing 2 Phase 7 project. I assume everybody can see the screen in front of you?
We can. So
the overall lot is outlined in pink here. As most of you know or may not know, if you look back at 2006, this is the first phase that was here with the Dunkin' Donuts and the residential units here. And then the townhouses were under construction here and here. We've since come back and we have done a phase up in here that's built out and sold. And then we're down in this location here. We're in this location right here. So this has basically been impacted and basically been a staging area for almost 15 to 20 years at this point now. What we'd like to do is come forward with the last phase of this project. This is similar units to the first phase, which is the units that were up in here. The garden style apartments, there were 4 buildings, 1, 2, 3, 4 that were built there. So this phase here is similar to those. We're proposing 3 4-story buildings, garden style. It's the last 72 units of this project. So this would be the end of this project, the end of about a 20 years project here. As a lot of people know, we had done a lot of single family homes. The last phase was 65, some in here and the other half in here. Obviously these were the townhouses. And again, this is the garden style. So at the end of the day, we have 3 different types of uses: garden style, single family, and townhouses. And what we're looking to do is finish the project. From the grading standpoint, this is sheet 4 of 20. This kind of outlines really the meats of the project, all the grading and drainage design. If you've been out to this site over the last 20 years, you'll notice that there was a lot of fill placed in this location here. And if you look down in here, you can see the contours that are dropping off from elevation 206 down to the existing ground at 194. So over the last 20 years, there's somewhere between 12 to almost 22 feet of fill in this location. It was originally designed to be a multifamily use all the way through this, but over the last 20 years, things have changed and they've modified their product accordingly. One of the nice things about this is that we have this huge green space now that we are basically digging out an oversized infiltration pond. So we're able to take everything from this site here via a couple catch basins right here, a couple catch basins here, run them out to our sediment forebay, and then put them into the infiltration basin. Along the same lines, we have a closed drainage system over here, catch basin to catch basin, runs down to a drain manhole, comes across the road, another sediment forebay, and then into an infiltration basin. This one has the catch basins located, right up in here. Then it comes down to the 2 catch basins here, again comes across and goes into the infiltration basin. We do not have any wetlands for this phase. We had some wetlands down along in here on the previous phase, and in here that was kind of a dug channel that happened over time. This was more the critical wetland at the time. We had worked with DES on buffers around that when we designed and permitted that phase, which is on construction. So as you can see here, it's pretty much open space up in here. No wetlands that were located on that. Here's the 2019 photo that you can see, this was the homes being built. We're now down around the corner here and back almost completely finished with these single family homes up in here. This is the unit where one of them's going, and then the other one's over on the other location here. As far as erosion control goes, we put together our standard plan that would have the erosion jute matting on any slopes greater than 3:1. We also call out a silt sock to be laid around the perimeter. We've kind of gone away from the silt fencing from a construction standpoint, maintenance standpoint, a lot of different things that the silt sock works a lot better. Our erosion control people like it out in the field. It's easier to maintain and does a better job than, obviously silt fence does a good job installed correctly, but it's a pain in the butt to get the contractors to get it correctly out there 9 out of 10 times. The runoff for this project has 3 different locations. We have one point of reference down in here, which is considered A on our drainage report. We had about 10.69 CFS going to that pre, again, because of what we have for the soils, and we have the separation from the groundwater because this was fill. The post is 5.49. So substantial reduction at this location, again, getting a lot of the water into the ground to recharge. I think we all know where this water goes. Pennachuck is, I don't know, the names have changed as who owns this, and now it's Pennachuck. I don't know if it was a fake name before that they still owned it and they have changed it back, but they seem to own or picking up the land all around their wells and stuff like that now. So infiltration, nice way to treat the water and not have any erosion and runoff. And there's no wetlands that were drying up in this location or anything like that. Again, this site's been disturbed for almost 20 years. So really trying to put it back into a nicer kind of look with the pond and with the green space. It's not under a parking lot, that kind of stuff that we have. Kind of a straightforward. I'm going to kind of take comments. I know you guys got a bunch of you here, so I know that the Girl Scout and Boy Scouts, I figured you might have bumped me for them. So now that you didn't, I'm going to be as quick as I can for them. So really open up for questions or comments that you have. Thank you.
When do you go in front of the planning board, Matt?
We are on for tomorrow night for acceptance. I haven't got any comments yet or anything like that. So that'll just be a preliminary acceptance application and probably get continued to, I would assume, the second hearing in September or so.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
I just wanted to comment. Thank you. I noticed you have obviously been here before because I didn't see any references to hay. Everything was straw. I noticed that you are talking about no phosphorus and low phosphorus. Unfortunately, I put my notes over there and I can't reach them, but on one page you did have low phosphorus and on the rest of the pages you had no phosphorus. So I'm not sure if the rest of the commission has a preference or if you did that on purpose. And before you answer that, I also want to say I did look at all of your plantings and it looks like everything is non-invasive. And that you have, it looks like these are things that you've planted already in the area.
Yeah, so 2 things. Romy, who used to work for us, now works for Terrain Design. So she's done all 4 of these phases, which is nice. Keeps it consistent. And we have her do all our stuff for us on that. As far as the no phosphorus, that's just a mistake. It should say no everywhere.
Okay.
So I will track that down and find out where that is. There's so much information and notes we put on plans nowadays. I try to get them all, but sometimes you miss them.
I don't have anything else.
So I noticed, I believe, on the first sheet that it speaks to no de-icing compounds, no salt, no de-icing, and Green Snow Pro. Did I catch that correctly?
Yes, you should have. Let me just go back to it. That should be right. So we have no salt or chemical DRs that are used for winter maintenance. Winter maintenance to be performed by a Green Snow Pro certified contractor or functional equivalent certification.
Okay, that's another one of our hot buttons. So that's good to see.
It's good to know that we've been beaten over the head enough that we're finally getting it.
So you noted that the stormwater runoff is less than before. Any concerns with the water that was going? Would that have been channeled? I'm sorry. Let me start again. With the water that is coming off the site now, is that expected to recharge the Pennachuck system, or does that flow out somewhere else and kind of permeate into the ground anyways? Because I know the Pennachuck system is close.
Correct. So here's what we had for pre, and basically, when we say pre and post, this is all just, fill material that's put in there. So it's basically like pavement right now. So a lot of that is running off and not being treated and that kind of stuff. So for me, it was much more conducive to put it into the ground where it would still get to the brook and everything like that. We're not changing the direction of it. It's still going to make its way downstream to where it needs to go. It's just not going to run over ground and infiltrate, cause erosion, that kind of stuff. So we felt pretty comfortable. This is going up to the state DES to make sure we're on board with what they're looking to, and we're not changing the dynamics of the runoff. But I felt very comfortable what was there, that this was the best solution to get it into the ground and move it to where it needs to go.
Okay, so when the pond, if for some reason there's an event that causes the pond to fill, where's the outlet?
We have an emergency overflow right in here. So if the elevation gets above the 199.75, that is when it would overflow. Currently, the top of the berm, the 10-year storm, it's at 199.55. There is some that goes over the emergency spillway for the 25-year storm. It hits 198.98. So there is some that may be utilized of that. Depends on, we use the infiltration rates based on the soil and the test bits we had over here. So we feel pretty comfortable with the way it's designed, that it meets the requirements and does what it's supposed to be doing. Yeah,
no, I agree. I commend you for creating such a space and having it large enough in order to get that water back in the ground where we all could use it. So thanks.
Well, and one of the things I'm just finishing a project in Allenstown, and we're doing some wetland impact, and I kind of went back and forth with the reviewers that said, I said, well, these ponds were created at the time, and their statements to me were, wildlife doesn't care if it's a man-made pond or an existing wetland. So, I really felt in this area, I think this is going to become quite a wetland in the area.
I'm all set.
Anybody else have any further questions?
Only two things, and one is just a curiosity question. The one that I need to know, because when we do the minutes next time, I want to make sure that I have your last. Right now, you're showing up as Matt May. So can you
Peterson.
Peterson. Okay.
S-O-N.
Perfect. And I'm curious, because you're so close to Pennachuck. Are you getting water from Merrimack or from Pennachuck?
This is Pennachuck water.
That's what I thought. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, Steve, since they are going before the planning board tomorrow, I'll just type up. The only thing that I can see for a letter is to change everything to no phosphorus. I don't see anything else.
No, that's all I have in my notes.
All right, so I'll type something up and send that off to you, and then you can forward it to the planning board, and you'll be all set for tomorrow night.
Thank you very much. I'll do that right away. Well, thank you, Matt, for coming.
All right, thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's really the only statutory advisory business item we had on the agenda. So moving on, new business. The first item we have is Girl Scout Gold Award project. I believe Sarah Handley is with us. She's from Troop 10375.
Hello.
Hey, good evening, Sarah. Thank you for joining us. You want to tell us about your project?
Yeah. I'm Sarah Hardy. I'm a senior here in Merrimack, and I have completed my bronze and silver award, and now I'm going to my gold award. And basically, it's the highest achievement that a Girl Scout can get. and it's a project that has to be sustainable and gives back to your community. And my idea is to make long phone stands or props that you can put along some of the key points of the trails in Merrimack. And I know whenever I go hiking with my mom and my family, we always want to get pictures of the two of us, and we always usually just take selfies because that's the newest thing. But sometimes it's nice just to get the whole picture and the beautiful scenery around you. So I thought that the phone props would make a good alternative to taking a selfie. And I came up with this idea because not this Father's Day, but last Father's Day, I was hiking with my family, and we saw these two teenagers trying to get a selfie at Wildcat Falls by the ledge that has the rocks in the water. And they were leaning pretty far over trying to get like the perfect picture. And I thought there has to be like a safer way to get the pictures. So I thought the phone stand would be a safe way to get it, and so they didn't have to lean so far over. And a few of my initial ideas were to make like the stands out of cedar or like long lasting wood. And I want the stands to look very natural so that they don't like stray away from the natural beauty of the trails. And to get the wood and any supplies that I would need, I could either fundraise. That is a new aspect of the gold award. For the bronze and silver, you weren't allowed to fundraise. You had to apply for grants and get the money that way. The gold award, you can also apply for grants, and I did that for my silver award, and I applied and received my grant. So I've experienced doing that. And then another part that has to go with the gold award is you have to have a global aspect along with the community. And part of that, I was thinking I could make a site that people could share their pictures that they take with, or I could make a QR code survey that could go right onto the phone stands that had some questions about the stands, if people liked it, any place for suggestions, and a place to upload their pictures. And that's kind of just my initial idea. I have to get it approved from you guys first, or have a plan with you guys first, and then I can send it to the Girl Scout Council to get it approved by them. I would like to hear any feedback that you guys have, and all these trails are a part of my community, and I've enjoyed them since I was little, and I just hope that I can make the trails a safer place and make them to promote family time and to appeal to the younger generation. And yeah.
Sarah, which property or properties were you considering putting these stands up at?
Anyone, I was thinking like Wildcat Falls or Horsehill, but really whichever ones you guys think would be best. I could do the middle school trail. I know that they have nice spots there. And I didn't want to like overflow any of the trails, so there would only be like 3 per trail at whatever spots you'd like, because I didn't want to put too many and have that be the whole trail. I didn't want to like take away from any other parts of the trails.
Did anyone have recommendations for Sarah in terms of which might be the best parcels? Wildcat Falls obviously presents a challenge now because it's not open, and I don't know what time frame you're looking at installing these. Does anyone have advice for Sarah on that?
My other concern with Wildcat Falls, Sarah, is because we have some erosion concerns over by the waterfall. We want to make sure that people don't slide down and land the river with that. So someone would have to go out with you and take a look, especially with Wildcat, just because of safety concerns over there. I mean, there's some real pretty spots at Wasserman. There's real pretty spots all over the place. Sklar down by the river, that might be a nice place to put some, because we're trying to get Sklar up on the map, but we can have the two of the mics could weigh in on that.
Oh yeah, Sarah, I think a good spot where I see a lot of people post pictures on Facebook and stuff is there's a deck off the cul-de-sac on BB Lane that overlooks a beaver pond. There's a dam there, And a lot of people post pictures or take pictures from that deck. And that would probably be an easy place to for you to put it. And could you describe what these look like? How high they are? They're going to be permanent, right? They'll be there all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have researched some, because I believe a national park in Wisconsin has done it, and theirs was on a large scale. But I was thinking just like a little bigger than the size of a normal iPhone, and just make it so that they can turn back and forth, and they can slide up and down a little bit. So people, if you have shorter people or taller people, anybody will be able to use it. So it would be just a couple feet tall and be able to move around so that it didn't have to be a ginormous thing.
Thank you.
Is there any liability for us on the commission if this is put in and somebody's phone falls off and breaks?
I'm not sure.
Now, this is a question I'm asking to the commissioners, just to see if there's anything that we need to know about liability for the phones.
It's like someone walking down the trail and it pops out of your pocket and hits the ground, right?
Okay. All right. What's the other thing I was going to ask?
Any other questions for Sarah?
I have a question. Sarah, how do you anticipate these would be affixed to the location? How are they made permanent? I mean, what are you attaching them to? Or they go right in the ground? How do you envision them?
I was thinking just putting them right in the ground, because I know I don't want to attach them to any of the trees and somehow damage the beauty that's already there. So I was thinking just digging them into the ground so they could stay there permanently.
And how would you address vandalism or people just, being mean with them, and how would they be in there sort of permanently? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, that was part of the survey that could go along with that. So people, if they see that something happened, they could address that and put that as in the comments of the survey. And then I don't know if we could I know some of the picnic tables are chained down. So I know if we could chain it down to something, just a small chain, or attach it to something that's there without putting it onto something and damaging it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the way I was envisioning it was a little bit like what Mike Boisvert said, where maybe you look at sites that have already been somewhat developed as a viewpoint, and think of it as sort of an accessory or an add-on to that location. That way, there are a lot of folks where, they have different opinions on what they like when they take a walk on a trail in the woods. And some people are averse to seeing signs of people at all, any kind of built environment. So if there's already an area disturbed, some people really enjoy the outlooks. To me, that seems like an ideal place, because people are already visiting that. They stand on the deck, they take their pictures anyway already. You're looking to make that job easier for them. And the nice thing is a lot of those locations are already built in some really pretty spots. They were chosen for that reason.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice idea.
Thank you.
No other questions? I guess I can make a motion to approve Girl Scout Sarah Hardy's Gold Award project to place painted phone stands along the hiking trails in, do we have to spell out all the conservation properties? I guess let's just say in Scholar, Greater Woods, and Wasserman Parks.
I would say Scholar, it wouldn't last there. I don't think that property is ready for a stand. But definitely that spot in that deck in Greater Woods. Scholar would be in the future at some point.
Yeah, there are a couple other spots in Greater Woods too, like the wildlife viewpoints where there's a couple benches. There's nothing else there but the bench, but the spot is pretty. And if it were tastefully done and not, it wouldn't stand out, I don't think it would be any worse than having the bench there. And it would add functionality to the spot for some visitors.
Okay. My
But
motion is
how
to
many,
amend.
did you mention how many total you planned on creating?
I was thinking I was wherever you guys would like the trails that you think they should be on, and then just 2 or 3, not to overcrowd the trails and to not distract from any of the other beautiful spots. Just the spots that already had stuff there would be a good place. I know Horsehill has the plaque and benches already there, so just places that are already stopping points would be a great place.
Where in Horsehill are you referring to? At Lastauka Pond, the beaver pond?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's a nice idea. Me personally, maybe one in each property, if it were tastefully done and it were in an area that had already been approved to have something like that put, I think would be great.
So did I hear you were thinking 2 to 3 total, or?
Per one trail. Yeah.
Right. So then how many trails were you thinking?
The Greater Woods, the deck spot was a great place, and put one there, and any other spots that already have benches. I know Horsehill by the Beaver Pond already has one, and then if you do the full loop of Horsehill, I know at some point there's another bench that looks over a mossy part, so there's already a bench there, so that would be a great spot. But yeah, just if I know Wildcat Falls is kind of hard to do right now, but there's some rock layouts there that people already stop on and sit on. So just places that have already already made to stop and look out would be great places.
I guess what I was trying to get at is are you thinking, when you think of it all in total with all the trails and the number that you're going to be doing, are you thinking of doing 3 or 6 or 9 or that kind of deal?
I'm thinking more probably closer to 6 and 9.
Yeah.
Because if I do a few trails, 3 per trail, then it'll probably add up a little bit.
Okay. And then you had mentioned the survey. Who was going to be on the other end of that survey reading the information?
I was thinking about doing a Google Forms, and then I don't know if it could just I know you guys have a website up that has trail maps of Horsehill up there and Wildcat Falls. So I don't know if it can automatically link to that website or how that would work. I'm not very good with all the technology stuff, but I could easily make up a Google form and it could link to that website or a link to an email where people already put in suggestions.
Yeah, we need to make the technology work between all of us, so that way someone does watch what's going on and responds, because people will ask almost anything if they see an opportunity to provide input. That's all.
Yeah.
With all of the attention that Wildcat Falls has got from locations like All Trails, I'm almost uncomfortable doing the survey at this point. I think it's a good idea, but right now I think we kind of need to get a handle on some of these properties. We're starting to open Sklar up, but we don't want Sklar to have issues that we've seen at Wildcat Falls or at Watson Park. So I'm almost inclined to. The survey is a great idea if we were going through these growing pains. So I'm almost inclined right now to say, let's get the selfie stands up and let people enjoy them and post the selfies that they have to their own social media. But I'm not ready to bring Google into it right now. Yeah. I think we have enough publicity right now. So one of the questions I was going to ask, though, because you're talking about 6 to 9, and in some of those locations, you might need, if you're thinking of sinking a post, how deep, and some of the people that have, used post diggers and stuff would be able to tell me, but how deep would a post need to go for it to stay sturdy? Would we need concrete in there to keep it in there? Is this something that she would need, one of those post digger things? So I don't know if anyone that has experience, Mike's over there laughing. You want to weigh in on that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, that was a little bit of what I was getting at earlier when I was asking about how do you plan to affix it? Because I was envisioning posts and concrete and I kind of didn't want to see that. I was hoping maybe there could be a way they could be attached to the already existing structures. I don't know, because if it's just a bench, you can't do that. You're going to take away seating. But yeah, it's gonna walk away or be vandalized if it's not put in there with concrete or something along those lines. So there's an ecological concern there, particularly since a lot of these great viewpoints are right next to the water. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's more a question than my input. Like how is this going to be? What's the plan? You know, like how do we envision seeing this?
My other question too is, I know that Eagle Scouts need to go before the town council. Pete, is this something that would need to go before the town council?
Usually the scouts, boy or girl scouts, will come to us for these projects. And I know that the council would prefer to see some type of description of what it was, the materials, how it's going to be constructed, so forth. And like Mike said, how it's going to be planted in the ground.
All right. And Pete, I'm sorry, because I should have looked to see when the next town council meeting would be. It would have to be 2 weeks out because Sarah would need a couple of days to get on that agenda.
Yeah, I think we're looking at the 28th. Let me look at my calendar. Yeah, I think we're looking at the 27th as our next meeting.
All right, because you do have something coming up. Don't you have something coming up this Thursday?
No, we've moved the meeting because we have the council retreat Friday.
Okay. So August 27th?
Yes.
All right. And Sarah, I can work with you to get on that agenda. But that is something that if you have some visuals, they would like to see that. I don't know if you're comfortable making a PowerPoint or something like that, or are you comfortable with a PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that way what you can do is you could bring your computer in and they can hook you up. And that way you can get on there. I probably won't be able to I may be able to get to that meeting. I have a college student. We're getting back to college that week. So I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be looking like at that point, but I will stay in touch with you for that. I know we do have a motion on the table, Steve.
Probably need to reword that motion. Why don't I try that? So what did we agree? Wasserman, Horsehill,
Greater Woods.
and Greater Woods.
Yes.
All right. Motion to approve Girl Scout Sarah Hardy's Gold Award project to place painted post stands along the hiking trails at Wasserman, Greater Woods, and Horsehill.
I will second that. Okay, Sarah, you and I can talk about your presentation to the town council, just so that you can make sure that you have a lot of information for them. And I'll direct you to the maps, because if you can show them where on the maps approximately you're going to put things. So you might want to, take a couple of walks around the woods. And again, this is another reason why Wildcat's not a good place to do it right now, because you'll be able to do that. But yeah, you could kind of make a little X on the map so that you could show them exactly where you're thinking of. Maybe if you go down and take some pictures of where you're planning on doing them, you're going to want to have a picture, a visual, so that you can show them how it's going to look at some dimensions. Okay. You know, tell them how you're going to plan to fundraise with this, because you said you were going to fundraise with this rather than get grant money.
Yeah, I can do either way. I wasn't sure if like you had a policy on that, like if you can't fundraise. I know some committees do, but I could either fundraise or get a grant.
All right. Well, personally, especially after everything that's been going on at Watson Park, I would rather see fundraising happening rather than take grant money for it. But that's just me. But yeah, fundraising is, I'm not sure how much this will all cost. You need to rent a post digger or see if you can borrow one from someone. Because a post digger, if you're going to be sinking posts, you're not going to want to dig those by hand. So run into a lot of rocks and stuff. So okay, but you and I will definitely be in touch, and we can figure this out. Yeah, I think, did we talk and I told you that the town council would want to see the presentation? I'm trying to remember. I thought I did.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I did. All right, that sounds good. So we have a motion, we have a second.
Let's do a roll call vote. Gina?
Yes.
Mike Boisvert?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Mike Swisher?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Did I skip somebody? Okay, motion carried 7-0. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Hi, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Next item we had up for new business is concept planning for an Amherst Merrimack Trail. Christopher Buchanan, who's the chair of the Amherst Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, is with us. Chris, do you want to start by telling us about this project?
Hi there. Yeah, sure. Just checking, make sure you guys can hear me all right. Okay. I suppose before I begin on that, I would just note that we did have a project in Amherst in the last year regarding putting posts in the ground, and I might humbly suggest that you consider cedar posts that are put in the ground between 1.5 feet and 3 feet. If you do that, they do not corrode, and you do not need cement for that. So just food for thought. Unsolicited advice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with that being said, on to the real reason why I'm here. The Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee in Amherst put together a master plan that was approved by the Board of Selectmen over here last July. And we're seeking to come up with a town-wide vision for how we can increase multimodality. So not just pedestrian or bicycle access, but various modes. And we have a twofold plan to do that. One of them is to improve roadways, particularly when they are under construction. It's rather inexpensive to do that. And then the other thing that we're seeking to do is to provide trails that serve a transport function. So that's longer trails that connect points of interest, etc. One of the initiatives that we have for that second idea is to consider placing in trails along the Eversource transmission lines, which span from the area of 101A past Souhegan High School and eventually goes into Merrimack and through Horsehill. This area already has a lot of informal trails, and I know that there are some existing trails inside of the Horsehill area that are underneath these power lines. I have been working with my committee to see what sort of process would need to happen in order to do this, and we've done a lot of just research and communication with Eversource to see if such a thing could happen, and things of that nature. So that's kind of the high level idea. I have some maps that I can show you, and I would certainly appreciate any insight or input that you folks might have. I would note that there's one other interesting sort of thing here is that this particular corridor has a lot of mixed ownership. Some of this is owned outright by Eversource, and there are several parcels which are owned by private landowners who have an easement by Eversource. It was the decision of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee in Amherst that what we're seeking to do is provide private landowners an opportunity to participate in the formation of public trails through private land. And it would be on us, and we're also seeking to get help from other organizations, whoever may be willing to help, but including the Amherst Land Trust, to interface with these private landowners to seek formal trail agreements for this proposed trail. We don't intend or really want to burden Eversource with that sort of research. It would be on us. So that's a little bit of background information, and then I suppose I'd put it back on you and see what you'd like me to discuss or show or anything.
Hey, Chris, a lot of these power line rights of way have a lot of ATV traffic. Is that true in this area? And what do you think, and what do you want to do about that?
I can't speak for other trails or other sorts of trails that exist underneath power lines. I would not say that the explicit intent of this is to have motor traffic. It's becoming harder to define this. In the past, you would just say non-motorized use. However, that can offer a bit of a problem because we want to increase accessibility, mobility opportunities. So things like assistance bicycles that have a motor in them, or like mobility scooters are technically motorized. So it's just not as easy to define what should or shouldn't be on there, but the intent of this is not to have things like snowmobiles or ATVs or things of that nature. It's primarily for foot traffic or a mountain bike.
So foot traffic, mountain bike, not e-bikes.
I would say that it's the stance of our committee that we would allow e-bikes, that they are permitted by our use in Amherst, and actually some of the members of our committee are senior citizens who require them in order to go where they used to go before. So they find it quite useful to make the trip easier. That's why we're a little adverse to say explicitly no motors. Just trying to define how something could happen.
Question, Chris. You mentioned mobility scooters specifically. I've never seen a mobility scooter capable of managing, like a wilderness type trail, or the trails that tend to be under power lines. So do you anticipate this looking more like what used to be referred to like a handicapped accessible trail, where it would be highly graded or even paved?
No, this is going to be just the ground that is cleared, approximately 5 to 8 feet wide. I am merely not, I'm trying not to exclude anybody automatically. That's it. I don't anticipate there would be any particular type of use of this trail. I would expect it would be primarily foot traffic and perhaps mountain bikes.
Okay.
Chris, any chance, can you put up on the screen a map showing us which the proposed area of Merrimack you'd like to hook up with?
Of course. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Okay.
So a little bit of context here. Let's see, this is the satellite map. There's also a parcel map that I can include. the border between the towns is right down the middle here. And over here is Horsehill. And then over here is Sauhegan High School and Amherst Middle School. So the power lines are cut already through here, and it's just straight underneath that. I'll go also to the parcel map. I don't know if that's useful or not, but that's it.
So does it end in Horsehill? Is that the plan, or are you planning to go through Horsehill to further the trail?
The plan would be as soon as there is a trail at Horsehill, that's where this initiative would end. However, I'm open to input. One of the ideas was that if we're going to get one shot to get any sort of arrangement with Eversource, try to ask for anything that you might be able to get, and especially on the Merrimack side of things, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the further east from Horsehill, the property gets difficult, and the terrain gets difficult, and ownership does, and you probably don't want to go any further than Natticook Road at this point. So when I mean difficult, I mean like if you can even navigate to it, you could end up at a hill that has a roughly 80% drop or just downward slope for a couple of 100 feet, and you would not want to traverse that. And right now, the only trail that takes you around that point goes off into private property, and then you run into a lot of water. So
Isn't that what you can see if you're standing on Continental looking up through the power lines, Tim?
You get a hint of it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, what you miss is all the water because you just can't see it from there. But you'd have to go down in there, and right now with the beaver activity and everything else, it used to just be a stream, but it's a much larger now. So and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you'd have to check the property lines, but you may end up on the gun club's property, and I doubt very much that they'll let you pass through that area. So, for safety reasons.
I think if I were to take a look here, this is Nashua Regional Planning Commission's map showing existing trails, and you can see just cut through the forest, the existing transmission lines. There's a trail here, loop trail.
Yep.
That would seem like the most logical place for this to stop, especially considering this very large body of water here. So it just seems like that would be the place to stop. Just look at it.
Yeah. Now, very few of our trails are 5 to 8 feet wide. So this would be opening things up a little bit. So, and the other thing is the property owner between Peasley Road and Gauthier Road does a lot of active work on their property. I don't know if you've looked at that or not. So,
only in a preliminary manner.
Okay. Yeah, you probably need to have an interesting discussion with that property owner.
Well, we've given some ideas. I don't know what other types of things were you hoping to get from this commission at this point?
Really just insight. I think that the next step is for us to start contacting landowners. The logical landowner to start with is Eversource, and see how things go with that. If things go well, then we would move on to the next phase, which would be other landowners. That's just where it is.
Yeah, I would imagine people are going to want to understand what your maintenance is planned for the trail system, because it's going to need to be maintained. Typically, the existing trails follow the power lines exactly, which means that they may not have dealt with erosion correctly. Basically, trails go straight uphill and straight downhill, and when the water starts going, it runs straight downhill, and it'll cut your trail into all kinds of little ravines and crevasses and everything else. So it's probably something you need to consider and look at. Certainly wouldn't be the best way to lay out trails if you were doing it in a professional manner.
I think regarding maintenance, this is something that we would be seeking your input with. As on the Amherst side of things, we would likely be working with the Amherst Conservation Commission to have trail stewards maintain the land, maintain the trails there. And once we cross into Merrimack, it's hard to know. It would be whatever you suggest.
Well, Chris, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept. There are a lot of questions. I'm not at this point against it. I always felt we could make better use of our utility right-of-ways. I know in other states down south, they've done a great job of making them greenways while allowing access for the utilities, but they've created great outdoor places for the people. So to me, I guess there's more questions. I do have some concerns. I don't want to create an OHRV right away or highway. That's just one concern. So, but hey, I'd love to hear more as you continue.
One of the things I was going to say, Matt Karen, who I don't know if you know Matt Karen, he was formerly our chair. He does a great deal of biking. I'm sure that he would have had a lot of input on this. But one of the things that the bike groups that Matt has worked on, part of the deals that we have with them is if they want to use our properties for their bike events, they give us some hours for trail maintenance. So one of the things is that if you do want to come into Merrimack and you do want to go into Amherst, some of the people that you're biking with might want to offer some hours towards trail maintenance, because we do have cleanup days, we have trail maintenance times, but it might be something that, if you do have a dedicated committee, they may be willing to go and put some maintenance effort into the trails, along with us, because we don't have huge volunteer groups to do a lot of maintenance. And someplace like Horsehill, there's a lot of acres that we're working with, and to have us add now the Eversource trail, that's a lot for us to have to worry about with erosion and stuff. So, but that's something to consider.
That's a great point, Gina, and that's certainly something we struggle with in areas that do get a lot of, or see a lot of OHRV use. Most of unauthorized OHRV use that really increases the amount of trail maintenance that's required.
And not that it couldn't be revisited, but we had voted in the past that we don't allow e-bikes, and I believe there are signs up in Horsehill, just as a consideration. Again, not that we couldn't revisit it, but at the moment, there's no e-bikes allowed.
Great. Anyone have anything else on this topic? No. Well, thank you. We appreciate you coming and sharing this idea with us, and please keep us posted on that.
Thank you very much. If the commission would like to provide any input or help out, like some had mentioned that there's some advantages to having greenways under utility corridors and things like that. That's really what our intent is. We're not really seeking to do anything with OHRVs, and so if it would be very valuable to have someone from the commission to liaise with us so that we can make sure that we're fulfilling whatever is needed to be done and answer some of those questions. We don't really have answers to the questions. We're still just planning this. So it's whatever it is you want, that's what we're looking to do. But thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, connectivity is very good. And like Gina said, Matt, was one of Matt's things he wanted to do, at least even with our properties in Merrimack, to be able to connect them all at some point. We have the property.
Well, that's the hope.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think if you can get Eversource to get behind this, then we've got something we should talk about. But they are by far a big stakeholder in this. So
they own most of the parcels by far. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you all.
Thanks. Yep. Have a good night. The next agenda item under new business is Eagle Scout project. Let's see. Daniel Bardis wants to propose a Bowman Boardwalk. I know Mike has shared some information on this project. It was in our packets, so we know a little bit about it. But Daniel, if you want to tell us more of the details about this proposed project.
Hi. So I'm hopefully an Eagle Scout from Troop 424. Right now I'm a Life Scout, and I have a project, I have a PowerPoint I'd like to show you.
Okay.
You see my screen?
We can.
All right. So my project is a bog bridge at the Horsehill. It's by the Bowman entrance. So I'm a Life Scout from Troop 424 in Merrimack, and I'm going into my senior year at Merrimack High School. I like to mountain bike. It's one of the reasons I chose this project. I like to fish, camp, and paraglide. I run cross country for Merrimack and track as well. I'm also part of the Science Olympiad team and our Envirothon team. So my project is to replace a bridge in Horsehill that crosses a bog that's falling apart and rotting through. I chose the project because I like to mountain bike, and most of the bridges in Horsehill are new, and this is one of the few that is old and falling apart. And this project would benefit the Horsehill Nature Preserve and all the park users. So some steps I need to take is getting the approvals and planning it out. Then I need to fundraise and go before the Conservation Council to ask for funding. And if I don't get all the funding I need, then I would use car washes to get the rest of the funding. Then I would purchase the materials and have them delivered through the Merrimack Highway Council or Highway Division to Horsehill Nature Preserve. Then I would remove the old bridge and clear and flatten the ground with shovels to prepare for the laying of the new bridge. Then I'd cut and make the final measurements in the parking lot at Horsehill and hand carry the materials from the parking lot to the bridge location and assemble the bridge on site. Then I'd clean up the parking lot and the bridge area of any scraps and document the project and report to the troop and Eagle Board. So the beneficiary is the Horsehill Nature Preserve. It's a nature preserve spanning over 560 acres of wetlands, streams, and ponds and swamps. It's the biggest nature preserve we have. And some of its common uses are mountain biking, hiking, cross-country skiing in the winter, snowshoeing, and hunting. So horses only use the trails in the preserve, only use some of the trails, and the trail and the bridge that where I would be building it is not commonly used for horses, so it is not built for horse use. And the bridge has been cleared to be repaired by Horsehill, so it's something they're looking to replace. So here's my fundraising flyer, which would be used if I were to do a car wash. And here's the current state of the bridge. So as you can see, it's kind of pieced together from scrap materials. It's rotting apart in some places. And here's more. So here are the plans for my new bridge. Here's the location for the new bridge. It's marked with that X on the loop trail. And here's the parking lot where we would be bringing the materials to and carrying them out to the bridge location. So my design would prolong the life of the new bridge, allowing for water and leaves to easily drain off by leaving a screw-width gap between each plank, allowing for a dry and clean path for mountain bikers and hikers to cross. The lifespan of the pressure treated wood I would use is over 40 years, so the bridge would be in service for many years to come. And here are my proposed plans for the bridge. It would be 50 feet long, and then there's a turn in the trail, so I'd have 5-foot sections for that turn, and then the rest of the section would be 25 feet wide. And the entire bridge would be 30 inches wide. And here's a side view. We would have a 6x6 supports going along the bottom to give it clearance from the ground to prevent some rotting and allow water flow through the bottom because it's in a bog. And also small animals can cross. And here's a scale model of the bridge. So that's the 50-foot section. There's the two 5-foot turn sections. And here's the rest of the 25-foot section that's straight. And as you can see, this side is raised. So that is where the trail is up on a hill. And here it is back on level ground. So both ends of the bridge will be extended about 10 feet because the current bridge is about 65 feet long, and it leaves this section here, which is wet during spring, and there's a puddle forms there. So the new span of the bridge would be 85 feet long, and it would cover the entire wet portion. So it would extend to here and here on this side. So my planned work days would be, so the first day I would buy materials and have them delivered to Horsehill through the Merrimack Highway Division. Then I would remove the old bridge and flatten out ground. And then I would make the final measurements and cut the wood on the third day. And then on the fourth day, I would cut the wood and I would move the cut wood to the bridge location and assemble it there with drills and screws. Then on the fifth day, I'd clean up parking lot and the bridge site. I would be using volunteers from the troop, scouts and their families, and some volunteers from the local chapter of the New England Mountain Bikers Association to help remove the old bridge. And if weather allows, those dates would go as they're listed. But if it is raining, I would postpone the current day to the next day and move everything to a later date. For leadership, because that's a requirement for an Eagle Scout project, I must show leadership. So I'd be leading a group of local NIMBA members to remove the old bridge. Then I'd assemble a team of fellow scouts as well as their families to help build the new bridge as small groups to take small groups as small projects along the bridge. And each workday, I'd be leading a group of between 10 and 20 people to accomplish the task at hand. And there would be 2 adults present to provide 2 deep leadership. And each workday will be about 5 hours long, depending on, of course, if we finish, then we end earlier. And for food, I would have a case of water and some packaged snacks for volunteers. Here's my bill of materials for the expected materials. I would have a 6x6 lumber, which would come out to $201 for the 6x6 lumber for the ground supports. Then the 2x10 decking, which would go on top, would come out to about $650. And then I'm using 4-inch coated screws to attach everything together, which would come out just shy of $900. For tools, we'll be using a miter saw to cut the wood into appropriate lengths, a tape measure to measure the wood, shovels to clear the ground and remove the old bridge, and drills to drill holes in the wood and put screws in. A portable generator will also be used to power the miter saw at Horsehill, because I'm planning on cutting all the wood in the parking lot at Horsehill. For safety precautions, we'll have a first aid kit containing band-aids, butterfly strips, and gauze pads for larger cuts, as well as alcohol antiseptic wipes for disinfection. And as for BSA regulations, only adults will be using the miter saw. We will have bug spray and sunscreen for everyone to use, and we will have at least 2 adults at each workday to comply with BSA regulations. everyone will be wearing masks and keeping distance as there is 85 feet of bridge to work on, and we'll be working outside, so it will aid in COVID regulations. And volunteers can bring gloves if they'd like. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, Daniel. Really comprehensive, fantastic presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was wondering, this crosses a bog. So when you remove the old decking, I mean, it's dry now, obviously, but
Yep.
But come spring, I know sometimes when they construct these bog bridges, they put some sort of trail hardening material as a base down, gravel. Do you have any plans for that? It didn't seem like it.
Well, we'll be using ground treated lumber, and then we will have I'll have the younger scouts go around looking for rocks to put underneath the 6x6 supports. These
Oh, okay. By the way, I really like your miniature design, your prototype. Excellent work.
Daniel, you've done a nice job, nice presentation. And this is something I think that really helps this area. So I appreciate you for taking this task. And again, very, very nice presentation.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about any other details?
The only thing I'm trying to remember for presentations in the past, did we have some sort of way to contain excess wood because it is pressure treated lumber? Some sort of tarp or something when it was being cut to keep it from getting into the water? Does anyone remember something like that? Or am I thinking of something else?
Well, he's going to cut in the parking lot, so that somewhat addresses that. You might want to bring along a shop vac with the miter saw.
All right.
I guess another question about that though is it might be nice to give the Watonic Bowmen a heads up, and particularly double check against their own website to see if they might have a scheduled shoot, because they wouldn't be happy with that, obviously, if you had crews of a couple dozen people and they need the parking for their own folks.
Definitely check with them for that.
Do you have a date yet to go before the town council, Daniel?
For the town council, I'll be going September 10th.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions for Daniel?
So I was hoping to ask if you could provide a donation to build the bridge. For the lumber and the materials.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
I was going to say, Peter is also on, I believe. I mean, he's probably muted, but are you there, Peter? You're still screen sharing, Daniel.
Okay.
I am here.
Awesome. Do you know, had we budgeted, I don't think we had a budget per bridge, for instance. I think we had a budget approved previously for a slew of projects, correct?
So we have a plan in place to replace bridges as needed. This was one of the ones that we're hoping to do next. So by Daniel taking this on, it really, really helps us. We already have 2 bridges planned to replace this fall, and this would probably be the third one we would do. So we would already be, as the Horsehill Nature Preserve, we would be requesting funding for this project already. So this is a huge help for us.
Right.
Yeah, I don't recall putting donations in for, I think what traditionally happens, Daniel, is you do your fundraising and then you see how much you come up with. But I don't know, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't ever recall putting in Fund 53 money for an Eagle Scout project. Traditionally, that is fundraised from the public. Am I wrong?
My experience is that usually in the town, when the scouts do work for the town, they usually do their fundraising, and don't ask for anything at least until after they've completed their fundraising. And most of the time they reach their goal. But, Daniel's obviously providing a nice service for us, so I wouldn't be against giving him some money to help him out, to get him started.
Yeah, particularly because we're already planning to spend money on this exact project.
Exactly. So, I'll make a motion to the Conservation Commission out of there's a 53 fund, Gina, is that what you called it?
Well, we have options actually.
Okay.
So I was curious, Daniel, did you have an amount in mind that you were looking for to get from us?
I was hoping for the full $900, but if that's too much, then I could settle for whatever.
I would make a motion then to put together a contribution of $500 at least.
Yeah, so at that amount, we can support either a withdrawal from the Horsehill Nature Preserve Fund or from Fund 53. But that would, if we take it from the Horsehill Fund, that would certainly reduce that fund down to probably just a few $100s.
Well, then I'll amend my motion to the Conservation Commission make a donation to Scout Daniel Bartis's project in the amount of $500 from the 53 fund.
I'll second that.
Okay. Vote by roll call. Yes, I'm a yes. Gina?
Yes.
Mike Boisvert?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes, especially in light of COVID, it's probably harder to do fundraising events these days.
Great point. Mike Swisher?
Definitely a yes.
Pete?
Yes.
And I have to admit something embarrassing here. We're missing a commissioner. So I actually, the last roll call vote, only wrote down 6 names. So we'll fix that. Eric, would you fill in? Would you be a voting member tonight, please?
Steve, I didn't catch that either.
It's pretty embarrassing. Next motion might be to impeach me. But Eric, are you a yes?
Yes.
All right, motion carries 7-0. I guess we should fix the previous one. Eric, for the Girl Scout Gold Award, how do you vote on that?
I don't think we voted on that. We voted for, we did? We voted for, in a minute.
Motion to approve Scout Sarah
You're right.
Hardy.
You're right.
Eric?
I'll vote yes.
Thank goodness. Okay, do we feel like that motion covers everything, or do we also need a motion to approve this Eagle Scout project?
We need a motion so I'll make a motion to approve Life Scout Daniel Bardis's proposed Eagle Scout project to replace and upgrade the boardwalk on the loop trail located near the Watonic parking lot at the Horsehill Nature Preserve.
Second.
Thank you. I'm a yes. Gina?
Yes.
Mike Boisvert?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Mike Swisher?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And Pete?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Danielle, for putting all that work into that presentation and sharing it with us. And thank you for selecting Horsehill as a location to do your Eagle Scout project. Good luck with that, and we look forward to seeing this project complete.
Thank you.
Let's see, moving on. Item number 4 of the new business is the fall 5K trail and race at Wasserman Park area. I have some background detail on this. See my notes here. Yeah, so what the Department of Parks and Recreation has asked us for is obviously they're trying to do more outdoor events to replace some of the ones that were impacted by current precautions. So what they were considering was a 5K run. I think everyone got a proposed map for this route in their packets. It would start, most of it would be on Wasserman Park property, but it does cross into Merrimack Conservation Commission property. They're not asking to do any permanent markings or anything like that. The event would be planned for either October or November, probably October. But they just wanted to run it by us and have us talk about it. And if we had any concerns about that, we can communicate that to them. But I haven't given them the go ahead. I said we would talk about it at this meeting. For the most
Steve,
part.
I thought Matt Gasparius was giving this presentation.
I didn't ask him to do that, Pete. I don't know that he has a presentation yet to give us. If we'd like that, I can reach out and tell him we would like a presentation on this before we, give approval for this.
It seems pretty cut and dry, but do we know how many people are participating? Or about?
No, he said it would limit the size of the field. That's all he told me.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a problem.
So may I interject for a second? So this is another one of the fuzzy areas. And Pete, I know you're having the retreat and I didn't get to provide you this input, but this is town-owned land. This is property that the commission helps to manage, but we don't own that section. So in fact, both sides or both parcels that make up the Wasserman purchase really are an agreement between the town and the Wassermans with some funding from LSIP. So while we have a stake in this in managing the property, at the end of the day, the town has the authority to approve and move forward with this project, as long as it's within the deed restrictions and the LSIP restrictions, which I believe it is. So I think our vote to approve is interesting, but not necessary. It'd be more of our vote to concur that it's a good idea, I would think. My opinion.
Tim, I would agree with you. But I do think that the council will probably want to know how we feel about this and if we think it's going to be, it'll be okay, or we think it'll be, it have negative impact on the property.
I understand, and I would suspect they would want our recommendation or our viewpoint on that. You're right.
They did say they would limit the field and space out participants. Does anyone on the commission have objections or worried that this could be bad for the parcel?
I'm not really concerned about the parcel itself, but I wonder a little bit about the optics to the town in sanctioning a 5K. I mean, I understand it's socially distanced, and I understand precautions will be taken, but from somebody a couple towns away, they just hear, "Oh, Merrimack's throwing a 5K." That's kind of a bad idea, perhaps, you know? So I don't know. I mean, myself and my family, we participated in a 5K this summer, but it, you know, through Parks and Rec, we even got a free buff out of the deal, but it was do a 5K by yourself and take a screenshot of your GPS tracking, and we'll send you a buff and a medal. And so I have that, but you know, there was no risk at all there. I mean, it was cute and clever, you know. I just wonder, you know, it's not my decision. It's not this body's decision, but I don't know. I think it should give people at least pause to think about if it's even wise to plan something like that. I won't be participating personally, I'll tell you that.
So anyone else? Yeah, I really don't. So I think that if I'm reading the room right, I guess that generally we just either need to tell them we have no objection. It's probably not something we need to make a motion for, but does that characterize your stand on this, Mike? That we don't have an objection?
Yeah, no, I don't have an objection from the land's perspective. I don't. It's just more an objection. It offends my common sense, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mike, I can tell you this, when Matt comes before the council, obviously we're going to want to hear the details as to how they are going to proceed with this. Obviously, we'd want them to do it in a safe manner. So I'm hoping we get more details, but at this point, I'm not against it personally.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure they've addressed it. Just not knowing any of those details, I'm more cautious than not.
All right, I'm hearing no objections then. Okay. Last item under new business is resident donation. Tim, did you want to talk about this?
Yes, let me get it in front of me so I say it correctly. So over the summer, I had a resident reached out to us, to me, I guess, directly, and noted that they had done a deck project, and the leftovers or the ends of the boards that they purchased were available, and what we're talking about is 26 pieces of leftover Trex decking, which is artificial board, composite type material. So he has 26 pieces of this leftover Trex decking from when he built his deck, and they're all at least 22 inches long. And this person had noted that they had spent a lot of time in Greater Woods and enjoyed the various bridges and things that we've done, and felt that they would like to offer that as opposed to bringing it to the transfer station for disposal. So if we were to purchase Trex decking and to cut it like this, there would be a considerable amount of money involved when you're thinking 26 pieces of 22 inches long. So not a lot of money, but certainly some money. But where it's all ends and it was ended up in the trash, I wasn't sure, one, if we could accept a donation without going to the town council. And two, this person has been storing it in their garage and would like to know at some point that they can either dispose of it or we would accept delivery of it somewhere. In fact, he had offered to deliver it to some place for our use on the properties. So that's kind of where we stand now. I asked him if it was urgent. He said no, but he would like to get to some resolution. So I'm here to find out, one, are we interested? And two, if we are, do we have a feel for it? And honestly, I don't know, because it would be waste. So I don't know if you consider to have a value or not. That would require acceptance. So we do take donations of services and stuff like that all along. People help out in other places. So what are your thoughts?
Where do you think we would use it, Tim?
So 22 pieces, assuming they're 5 or 6 feet wide. I'm 5 or 6 inches wide. We're not talking a lot of decking, but we are talking maybe a replacement of a single bridge. So
I can think of, I know Matt was maintaining this stick bridge. I don't know if any of you know which one I'm talking about. Yeah. What trail is that on? Anyway, it's over by the Outlook.
Yeah.
And yes, I know there's a few little bridges like that are probably only that wide, that where it could be used. This is in Greater Woods that I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So you might think that this is probably more pertinent for an existing bridge that needs new decking versus, because it by itself is not enough to actually create a bridge. It's only the boards that go on top. You'd still need all the support structure and the screws and the labor. So
Different support structure for Trex structure than you do for, say, a pressure treated wood structure?
Well, at this gap, you might need a third. If you had built the bridge with 2 long supports underneath and then all the decks going across using conventional pressure treated lumber, you could get away with just 2. At 22 inches, you really need to have that third beam, because if not, it will bow in the middle. When you do a deck, everything is done 12 inches on center versus 16 inches on center. If not, you get that bouncy bow feeling. So yes, potentially you might need that a third brace underneath.
Okay, so this isn't something that the Boy Scout that was just here could have used.
Not as enough of it. Yeah. So there's probably enough here to cover about 10 feet.
Oh, okay.
Do the math, okay? So
it would be for a little footbridge or two, a little bog crossing. It wouldn't even be for a real bridge. It would just be a low-lying area that got wet that's already got a couple boards across it. There's a spot I can think of in Horsehill. It's just a couple boards thrown in a puddle, honestly. But if you took a few of these, it would look tidier, and the Trex doesn't rot. So it's costly material. It's nice to have for nothing. My vote would be to take it, for sure.
Yeah, my vote would be to take it too. I mean, do we have a place to store it until we use it?
I don't know. I'll keep it if no one else will. It won't take up too much space.
And given the material, you could store it outside.
Yeah.
It might mildew and stuff that you have to clean up before you actually use it, but that'd be about it.
And where is it? It's not, I don't know. What do you think, Pete, where it's destined to the transfer station? If we don't take it, would we need to seek town council approval? Am I on mute?
Nope, You're not on mute.
Okay. Pete, do you have a feeling, a sense whether or not we would need to seek approval for this, seeing it's destined for the transfer station if we don't accept it?
I don't think so. I mean, it's kind of like there's a value to it, but there's a non-value on it. So to me, it's nice that he's got some what I would call scrap material. So, I mean, if we had to go out and buy sections and cut it up, like Tim said, we might need to approve it. But personally, I don't think so at this point. I mean, you want me to run it by somebody? I can do that.
I mean, this is waste. I don't think we.
Yeah.
have to.
Unfortunately, we might want to just ask that question. So, just to avoid any issues. So,
what I'll do is after the meeting, I'll shoot an email to the town manager and Paul McCallie to see if I can get a determination, and I'll email you all back.
Okay, and then I would say is if someone's willing to accept, assuming that we can move forward, I could put the donor and the receiver together, and then let you all work out the delivery. How's that?
That's fine. I can give you my address later, Tim, and you can dump it off in the driveway whenever he wants to.
Okay. Yeah, I'll share your commission email address and email the two of you once we know we can move forward. So.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion to approve with gratitude, conditionally on the feedback that Pete gets, the acceptance of decking donated by. We probably don't need the person's name.
I don't know. I didn't ask if he wanted to remain anonymous or not. So.
Okay. Yeah. So motion to approve with gratitude the conditional acceptance of decking.
So moved.
Well, wait a minute. Who made the motion? Pete,
I did. I did a terrible job at it, but I did it.
You want to second it, Pete? You want to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call vote. Yes. Gina.
Yes.
Mike Boivet.
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes.
Mike Swisher.
Yes, Chair Perkins.
Eric.
Yes.
And Pete.
Yes.
This time we have 7. Motion carried 7-0-0. All right, moving on. Old business. We have the land donation at 30 Tomasian Drive to the Conservation Commission. Tim, do you want to give us the background on that?
Sure, I can share my screen too to make it a little to be really clear if you'd like. So let's see if I can kick that off. And I want to share this here. So hopefully you can see a plot plan in front of you.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a set of plans that were put together by Meridian Land Services for the Tomasian Drive LLC project. This is sheet 1, the top sheet. When this cluster subdivision was put together, it was put together with the concept that this outer parcel out here that completely spans around the entire property, 4B9-1, this 20 some odd acre parcel would end up being donated to the Conservation Commission versus having the land be made available to all the parcel owners of the property. That was a condition of approval from the planning board. The whole project went through the planning process. At this point, all the homes have been built. The parcel is now at a point where the use of the parcel by the LLC is no longer happening. The LLC was using this part of the parcel right here, which is on the corner of Amherst Road and Tomasian Drive. They were using this as a staging area for material to be used on site. This is where we had rocks donated to us from, rocks that ended up in Sklar Park. There's about 12 rocks sitting right here in this corner that's going to become available to us. The site has been mostly brought back to its original condition, except for vegetation, because it had been cleared of its surface loam, and like I said, used as staging. They've now regraded, and I think there's a few items left over. So we're about at the point now where the LLC needs to transfer this to the Merrimack Conservation Commission. And just for clarity's sake, I want everyone to know that after this was approved and went through, I ended up becoming an owner of one of these parcels, and my home was on one of these parcels, just to be fully transparent and avoid a conflict of interest. But we're at the point now where it's time to complete the deal. So where everything has been in concept approved and everyone knew going into this that we were going to do this, what's left to be done is for us to work out the details of the deed of transfer, and to work those details through our town attorney. We need to, as a commission, once we've put together that donation acceptance and come to a conclusion on the deed language, we also then need to have a public hearing following our normal process as described by RSA 36-A. We would then vote after the public hearing to formally accept the donation, and then we would have to call a meeting with the town council, and per the same RSA 36-A, the town council would have to formally approve our acceptance of the donation, and at that point the parcel would be ours. So why I'm here tonight is I'm looking for the commission to designate one of its members to take this process and follow it through, work with the LLC, work with the town, work with the town attorney, and bring this to fruition. My suggestion would be that I've done this a number of times for a number of different parcels. Granted, I am a property owner here, so I could easily get it done. I would rather see another member of the commission walk this through, and I can mentor and guide and provide guidance, so that way the knowledge of the different steps and some of the nuances that are required could be shared with someone else, and someone else would have that background. I know Mike Boisvert's been through this process with the land purchase. This is slightly different with a donation, and there's no purchase price involved, so it's actually a simpler activity at this point. So it's just really finishing what was decided and approved back in 2014. So that's my suggestion. I can show you a better picture here since I've got the parcel up. This, by the way, if we hadn't done this process, it would have ended up with houses all over it. But by going to a cluster subdivision, we got that 26 acres. It borders the Sauhegan River. This parcel up here to which really is the west, I'm looking for the loci, yeah, it is the west of the parcel, is our 80 plus acres that is part of Fields Farm. So we're taking Fields Farm essentially and adding another 20 something acres, 28.43 acres that I can see here. And Fields Farm will now be over 100 or nearly 110 acres in size if we were to combine them. And that was our vision back in 2014. So we're basically protecting the river, providing opportunities for recreation. There is a trail that goes all the way around the perimeter here that's still navigable mostly. So, and that could join up with other things. So that's really what we're up to. I'm just looking for the commission's guidance. I will tell you that I have acted a little bit on behalf of the commission. In fact, I provided deed language to the LLC that closely mimics what we've done with other land donations and has certain restrictions in it that mirror what's the restrictions in Fields Farm. My thinking, and I think our thinking back in 2014, is that we would have the same level of restrictions as well as approved uses on this parcel as we would with Fields Farm. So therefore, if you crossed the stone wall right here and you entered from Fields Farm into this parcel, you would follow the same rules. So I've suggested the language, but it's merely a suggestion just to get the ball rolling and to allow them to start working with their LLC attorney. Yep.
So this is basically this parcel it wraps around the entire subdivision?
It does, yep.
Okay. Yep. Now the picture we're looking at right now, let's say the lots that are towards the river, that whole section of land from their end of their lot all the way to the river would now be the conservation property?
It would be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, the gap here is deliberate. It's to keep the homes and the home lots greater than 250 feet from the river. This being a protected river, there's a 250-foot buffer line that you have restrictions on. And it was felt at the time that if that was on conservation property, we wouldn't have to worry about a landowner violating that 250-foot restriction.
Okay. And how about the lot now next up at the corner of Tomasian and Amherst Road? That whole area would be conservation property?
Correct. Yeah, right in here would be all conservation property.
Okay.
And it's fairly level. Our thinking back when was that with the expansion of the Horsehill Nature Preserve parking lot, people could park at the Horsehill site, walk down Amherst Road, and then enter this parcel here if they wanted to walk on a trail system that we would have to update and grow. But that would all be planned as part of the Fields Farm subcommittee that we have in place but don't have active. So
now, Tim, in the prior picture, you showed a shaded area along the front of the subdivision on Tomasian Drive, near the entrance to the subdivision here. Is that also technically conservation land, or is that homeowners land?
Are you talking where my cursor is right now?
Yeah, the frontage going from Tomasian Drive by the entrance of the subdivision. I'm sorry, I forget the name of the road now, the new road.
So this is Windy Hollow.
Yeah. Okay. So along Tomasian Drive, that shaded area, is that also going to be conservation land?
No. The only thing that's conservation is this piece that goes around where my cursor is going. It does come back out to Tomasian right here.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. In fact, this point right here, if there was a home here, would be 10 Tomasian, which is where it gets its address from. So, in case you're curious.
Well, I mean, I, for one, think it increases our space, and I like the added frontage of the river. So I can only see this as a benefit.
Yeah. So this parcel, this picture actually shows Fields Farm, which is all of this except for this little triangle where there's one home. So all this where my cursor is dancing around is all Fields Farm, which is what we already have and own. At this point, accepting the donation is kind of a given because we did that during the planning process 6 years ago. It's really what we're really after right now is to make it legal and complete the legality of it all.
So who would like to be that person that becomes the point person for this? What would we call it, Tim? Basically a deed transfer?
Yeah, and necessary legal approvals per RSA. Yeah.
Tim, if you'll work with me, I'll volunteer to do it if nobody else wants to do it.
Yeah, happy to walk someone through it because I'd like to have that knowledge transfer happen.
Tim, how long do you think it would take to achieve?
It should be done this year. So because of the meetings and in declaring public hearings, our meeting process would probably run between 30 and 60 days. So, and then any time that's required to get the deed language correct. So the LLC itself is not all that active anymore because the work is done. So there might be some time just getting all the remaining members of the LLC to agree and sign.
Sure. I feel like I ought to volunteer because I know I've specifically mentioned to you before. I would like this sort of hand holding. So I don't want to step on your toes, Mike, but you've done something like it. I've not. So unless somebody else wants to do it, I feel like I ought to.
No problem, Mike.
Yeah, I figured.
Well, thank you both Mikes, and Mike Swisher, you'll work with Tim, and
it would be my pleasure, and I appreciate his willingness to mentor me.
Prentice, do we really need do we need a motion though to accept this, to vote to accept it, or am I hearing that that's already been done?
Yeah, so the commission agreed to the plan to accept the donation of the land. We just really need a consensus of the commission that we've got someone to spearhead this through with my assistance.
I think we have the consensus, and thank you, Mike. I guess we can move on now to the next item under old business, and that's the Horshills Nature Preserve. Review funds for a decking project, and we all got this in our packet, a summary of the costs. I think this is something we've already approved once. We're just revisiting it, because this is slightly new pricing. Who was it that obtained this pricing?
That would be Peter. You want to talk to me?
Yeah, so Peter, Horsehill Nature Preserve, 88 Natticook Road. Originally, we got approved a budget of not to exceed $900 for a bridge rebuild and a boardwalk rebuild. We went, I've been kind of watching, for a safe time to do this project, and we wanted to do it in August. I went to purchase the wood, and the price had dramatically jumped. And then on top of that, some of the lumber that we needed, some of the dimensional sizes weren't even available in pressure treated. So I'd like to ask for that number to be increased. We've also I've met on site with another member of the subcommittee, and we've redesigned a little bit of the bridge to get some lumber that's more readily available. Some pressure treated dimensional sizes. So it's hoping to get an increase.
Excellent. Yeah, I do have the note here that, on on March 2nd at our meeting, we had approved not to exceed $900. And the new estimate is $1,134.96.
If possible, I'd like to go a little above that, just in case. It's hard to say, but if we could do maybe like 1,300, not to exceed.
In case the price changes, this goes up again.
I think it's sensible to put a buffer in. I couldn't even get an 8-foot 2x4 at Home Depot today, pressure treated. I had to buy a 12-footer, and it was sticking way out of my car.
Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'll make a motion to approve for funding this bridge project in the amount not to exceed $1,300 from Fund 53 or from the Wildcat Fund? Fund 53?
Yes, 53.
Yeah.
Second?
Second. Yeah.
Okay. Roll call vote. I'm a yes. Gina?
Wait a minute, but we already approved 900. So isn't this motion just for 400? Because if, Steve,
Yes.
if you look at the notes that Dawn had given us, she gave it to us to approve for 300, which would go up to 400. So technically, do we only need to approve another 400?
Okay, would you like me to change my motion?
Yes.
Because we already approved 900, so another 400 would be the 1,300.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve another $400 for the Horsehill Bridge project from Fund 53.
You have to withdraw your original motion first.
Oh, okay. I withdraw my original motion of $1,300.
And I'll second Mike's new motion of adding $400. Okay, yes. Gina?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Mike Swisher?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And Pete?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for getting on
Thank you,
it.
Peter. And for working with Daniel Bardis as well.
You're welcome.
All right, next item under old business, Wildcat Falls update. Gina, do you want to give us that?
Sure. So, the town council is still discussing, the parking lot, the parking issues. And they are going to be going into, I think it's the third reading. They've already had their third public hearing. Now they're going to do their third reading. So that would be coming up on August 27th. Pete?
Well, we approved the residents only parking.
Right.
So that is in the process of moving forward with the sign purchases and layouts and so forth. And finalizing the wording on the guest pass situation there. What's left is the one-sided parking issue. We're going to determine if that is actually going to go forward. It may just be certain smaller sections that are going to be one-sided to allow emergency vehicles through. And we also covered the prohibited parking, the fines, amended that, and the temporary parking, we put some teeth into that so that now there are some significant fines to it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, we also had a group that went into Wildcat Falls at the end of July, and we did an assessment and a trail maintenance. And thank you to everyone that was there, from the Conservation Commission, and also from some of our other volunteers from around town came out. It actually was in pretty good shape. I was pleasantly surprised. I believe that we are not planning on reopening until after Labor Day. Is that what the town council is thinking?
Gina, yeah, I don't see, I know personally, and we haven't had any discussions on a date, but I really believe we'll probably hammer that out on Friday on the retreat, but I don't see this opening up until after the start of school, at least. And it's unfortunate, and the folks who want to enjoy it from Merrimack, but right now I feel like, me personally, and I think the rest of the councilors feel, that this has been the best course of action right now, and maybe with the start of school, that'll lessen traffic. And now we're now dealing, as you all know, with Watson Park. So.
Yeah, I know. I would also like to thank Kyle Fox and DPW workers because they took recycled asphalt from the Tinker Road construction and they repaved the parking lot at Wildcat Falls. It looks terrific. And I think that we shouldn't have any more issues with that parking lot for quite a while. It looks great. That's all I have for it. It's been pretty quiet down there. Everything is going very well. We also thank Parks and Rec. They've been sending someone down there to watch over the parking lot, and we had the opportunity to meet one of the Parks and Rec people, and they were doing a terrific job educating people why the park is closed, or why that conservation area is closed.
Thank you, Gina. The next item is the Sklar Waterfront Park update. If you recall, during our last meeting, we discussed a noticeable uptick in some of the OHRV use down there, along with litter, and just people doing the wrong thing down there. Two of my action items were, I said I would reach out to Conservation Officer McFadden, and I did. He has been down there. But he hasn't seen a whole lot of activity, so he just asked us to narrow down what times we were seeing the most violations. And I spoke with Mike, and got back to Officer McFadden and told him weekday evenings and weekends were the times where we were seeing the most violations and the most misuse. I also, another action item was after that meeting, I did email Chief Roy to relay the same concern that we had seen an uptick. She responded promptly, and the following day she went to either the Tuesday after our meeting or the Wednesday. She went down there with the town attorney and the entire command staff from the police station. The time they went down there, she didn't see a whole lot, or that team didn't see a whole lot of littering and so forth. But it was right after Mike and some other volunteers had gone down there and cleaned that stuff up. But she did say she would continue to monitor that situation also. So that was all the updates I had. Mike, did you have more to add on Sklar?
Yes. We're pretty much ready to try to get a subcommittee going. I know Gina sent me some of the charters of the other subcommittees, and I guess am I looking for advice on whether to just fill in the blanks on that. Mike Jewin and I were down there this week, and I have at least two other people who are interested in joining this subcommittee. So there's 4, possibly a 5th. I could, if nobody objects, I could contact that person, Mr. Webb, that sent an email this past week looking to do something. I could ask him if he was interested. But so where do we go from here? How do we get this charter and get the commission to approve and get the subcommittee going?
So what we've done in the past is a member of the commission will put draft language together and put it on an agenda, and we as a commission will review the draft language, maybe make some amendments to it, and then vote to approve the charter, which at that point then we would advertise for members to volunteer, and once we had been advertising for a period of time, I'm not sure how long, 30 days or whatever, we would act on everyone who had volunteered. And then we would set the new committee free to go change the world. How's that?
Okay. So Mike Jewin and Gina, would you work with me on the language? I mean, I guess we'd be pretty close to some of the other subcommittees. We'll just read through it and see what we need to change.
Yeah, I would think you could probably take one of the other ones that are available on the website and change the names of the innocent and provide that for our next meeting for review.
The big question becomes, because Wildcat has 5 members, Horsehill and Greater Woods both have 7 members.
Mhm.
How do we decide if we need 5 or 7 members? And also, if you have 7 members, I know with Wildcat, we consider 4 members as the quorum. So
Could it be worded so as could be 5 or 7, like up to 7 full-time members? So with 5, 3 would be a quorum. 6, 4 would be a quorum.
I guess I would say that'd be part of our discussion when we agenda it and go through it. So.
Okay.
So we also have standing charters for Wasserman Conservation Commission and Fields Farm. We just have never had enough interest to actually start those committees, but we have previously approved those charters.
we have not approved them?
We have.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's good to know, because that was kind of the next thing on my agenda list, was that we should get something for Wasserman going soon. So anyway.
It really just takes a champion on the commission to start moving it along. So.
Yeah. And Mike Druin, I mean, I'm going to jump a little bit here, but Mike Druin, the town council has interviewed, the appointment committee has interviewed him, and the recommendation at their next meeting, which now is on August 27th, will be to recommend him to become a conservation commissioner. So he's sitting in tonight, getting his feet wet again, and the hope will be that he will become our alternate member, and Mike Swisher will become our full member in place of Matt, and will step into the vice chair position. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Mike Druin.
Excellent. Yeah. Great. Glad to have you, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. But we got to wait until the town council thing
Right.
before everything's
Yes.
but that will be there. So I'm glad you were able to stay for the whole meeting tonight, Mike. That's good. Anyway, yes, I will work with you. We will get this together, and it will be on the agenda for our next meeting.
Thanks, Gina. Anything else about Scalar before we move on? Nope. Okay. Other business. Discussion on communications or correspondence received concerning regulated commission activities and issues concerning conservation managed lands. I think we've covered all these unless somebody else has something.
No, what I just should have gone into this.
How about no subcommittee updates that I know of? Nothing. Yes, Pete.
Yeah, Steve, I just wanted to, or maybe I'm jumping in too soon. I just wanted to discuss council activity. Is this the right time?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, as you guys have heard, obviously we have our retreat, and a couple of things on the retreat that I am going to discuss is obviously Wildcat Falls. When it comes to the conservation land or protected land, Wildcat Falls is going to be high up on the list regarding the parking lot, potential new entryways or parking areas, as well as we're going to renew the conversation regarding a conservation officer. Me personally, I asked that get brought up because one of the things that I've felt like over the past year that have come out of all this is an ability to enforce our rules or educate the public on what's going on in our properties. And the police have tried their best, but I think that we might need a little help, but that's going to be up for discussion with the council. Also, when Mike sent out his message regarding Sklar, I took a ride down there, and I know that we've got to really do some work to improve the boat ramp, which is town property, and that roadway in. So, I mean, there's going to be discussion concerning Sklar on that note about that dirt road needs to be graded and cleaned up. So I'm also going to continue to find if we can find some barriers to put up. I actually had a gentleman contact me on Facebook and has a large number of boulders, and he wants to know where we would like them. So if we want to take them, I can direct them where you guys would like to have them dropped off, and maybe Mr. Tadowski could help us in placing them again. Other than that, the only other thought I had today was regarding scout projects is that, and we've got a lot of young, fruitful minds, but, and I get concerned. I'd like to see us put together a punch list of potential projects or work we need done. So then when a scout, boy or girl scout, approaches us, we can kind of maybe give them that to take care of it. Because, there's some great ideas out there that some we heard tonight, but I don't know if we necessarily need some of these as opposed to some of the tasks that we put on a punch list. So that's just one thought or suggestion, but that's it for me for the council.
That's a great point, Pete. You know what? Maybe what I'll do, Gina, is when we start putting together the agenda for the next meeting, I'll put that item on there. So if we have some scout punch list type ideas, we can talk about them then. Does anyone have feedback they want to give Pete in preparation for the retreat?
Matt Karen may have had a punch list in his head. Might be good to contact him about that. And also just a comment on the road into Sklar. So that was graded. Mr. Tadowski graded it last year. And what happens is they have fun out there with the 4x4s and they like to dig it up and spin around that circle at the end. So maybe that dumping the rocks at the end there might be a good spot and we could block off from there or something.
Are you pretty confident, Mike, you can get him to move those so Pete can give them the green light?
Well, I know Mark, he would volunteer to do it. It's just whether, I don't know what the size of the boulders are. Like, I know he had a problem. He could barely move a couple of the other boulders with his backhoe, but yet they're hauled out of the way. Go figure. So it's whether, if he can handle them, I'm pretty sure he'd move them. I can reach out to him just to make sure. Yeah, I'll reach out to him.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, when this world gets to be back towards what we'd call normal, and our subcommittees can participate again, I think it would be good for us to engage our subcommittees and ask them to help put a list together of what they'd like to see, similar to how Peter and the Horsehill subcommittee has a list of projects that they want. I think the subcommittees would love to provide projects on a shelf. So if you want to call it that. So we should challenge them and not make it our own decision. So, and then just a reminder, like I said, on our new parcel that we're about to get donated, there's probably 10 or 12 boulders, anything from the size of a cooler to what you saw last time. So.
Great. Anyone else? Any thoughts for Pete? All right, moving on. Presentation of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the Merrimack Conservation Commission meeting minutes dated July 20th, 2020 with changes as follows.
Second.
Steve, I don't know if you have your notes from the last time, but on page 3, line 7, you had made the motion, wait a minute. Councillor Pete Albert had made the motion to amend Article 3C This was the minutes of all public and non-public meetings shall be completed in accordance. I had Steve down. Steve, I had you down as the second on that, and she has Commissioner Boisvert down.
I have my notes right here.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't remember.
Okay. You seconded a different one. No.
I did not include that on my notes, Gina.
Okay, that's all right. I can always go back and look at the tape. I noticed it while we were sitting down, and I can always message Dawn tomorrow after I go back, and I'll just look at it again and make sure. But that's a change that I have. I also have on page 5, line 17, water quality, not water equality. I have on page 7, and Tim, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but it's Greeley Street, not Greeley Park, that you canoed down to from Depot Street.
Correct.
Right.
Well, no, sorry. It was Greeley Park.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll leave that then.
Sorry. I went past Greeley Street all the way to Greeley Park.
Fine.
So.
All right. Page 8, line 5 will go a long way in that regard. Page 8, line 13, stated should be stated. Page 9, line 33, litter group should be LITTER. Page 10, line 20, put an O in the word another. I'm not sure if we said this and it just didn't get recorded, or on page 10, line 23, town property off. She has Chamberlain Road. It should be West Chamberlain Road, but I'm not sure if we said west. Page 10, line 45. That one read a little rough to me. I would say with funding is they can initiate. And page 12, line 5, again, litter, LITTER. And that's all I had.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I had a few others. I took the opportunity. I'm sorry I missed that meeting, but I did read the minutes to get caught up. Page 8, line 13, Commissioner Perry stated, not stated. You mentioned that one, Gina, sorry about that. It was line 33 on that same page, page 8, which resulted in Mr. Trudowski. It's a misspelling of his name. There's no W in that. It appears a couple times in prior paragraphs without the W in the middle. And I looked it up. Page 10, line 4, need a verb. So Councilor Albert stated, I'll suggest the agenda for the upcoming town council meeting, etc. And page 11, line 23, should be affect, AFFECT, not effect.
Good catch.
Well, thank you, Gina.
You have competition, Gina.
I never get effect and effect. I'm terrible.
I'm a grammar nerd.
Anyone else?
Gina and Mike got all the ones I was going to mention.
All right, we'll approve by roll call vote. I'm a yes. Gina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Mike Swisher.
I'll abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. Eric.
I'll vote yes.
Pete.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried 6-0 and 1 abstain.
Seconded that one again. Steve, did you second that one?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, I know you're doing the voting, but Twardowski is spelled with a W.
Well, then I would suggest that the other spellings need to be amended to include the W.
Okay.
I looked up on the tax rolls and they all looked like they did not have the W. There were a number of them.
1 or 2 W's.
It's spelled, there's one W, it's in the beginning.
Well, yeah, that's what I would say. So yeah, TW, right. But then
TW.
afterwards,
ARDOSKI. Is that
Y? Ends in a Y.
I think. Is it Y?
It's a Y.
Oh, you sure?
Oh, I'm very sure.
Okay, sorry.
but there were 2 W's in the one I pointed out.
Right.
And yeah, I'm not disputing the first W, obviously. Drive down to Twardowski Field and check.
Yeah, I'm staring at the town website.
Yeah.
All right.
All I
moving on.
noticed, Tim, was there were 2 different spellings in the span of 3 paragraphs.
Gotcha.
Public comment. I don't see any public. I don't see any hands up. So that must mean there's no public comment. Commissioner comments. Gina.
Nope.
Cindy. Mute.
Nope, I don't have any.
Nothing. Okay. Mike.
No.
Nothing. Mike Swisher.
Nothing from me other than what I've already said tonight.
Eric.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about our closure of Wildcat Falls. Is that pertain to all of Wildcat Falls or just the property that we manage?
It's the property that we manage. It pertains to the town-owned, but the state-owned New Hampshire DOT land is open. You just can't access it through Courier Road. So if you want to get onto the DOT land, you have to get onto it through somewhere else. There are signs that are posted along the line that show you where it's closed. So we're
Okay, in that instance,
what?
there is, I think, a really good spot for the Girl Scout project to put a phone stand on the state-owned portion of the land.
You can't put it on the state-owned portion.
Oh, you can't? Okay.
You can only put it on our land. So, yeah, that's an interesting thing, having 2 different things, because you can hunt on the state-owned land, but you can't hunt on the town-owned land. So sometimes you'll see people walking through Wildcat Falls town-owned land with a gun. They're walking to the state-owned land. As long as they don't discharge that firearm, they can walk through with a gun. So it's confusing.
Pete.
No.
Okay, thanks. Tim.
Yeah, so Pete, I'd like to just touch on something I mentioned earlier, but didn't really complete the thought. So we have a number of parcels that are town-owned that we, the commission, manage or been asked to oversee and look at. Some of them more formally, like what's in Chapter 111 currently. Some of them probably will be more formal when we address Chapter 111 again in September. But my desire is every time we get a new council, and maybe not quite every time, but when there's a significant change in the membership, we on the commission will get different guidance as to our level of independence from the town in order to manage and act on and take actions on these properties. And I was kind of thinking it might be good for us at some point to document what we believe that management means, and have that in a document, so that could be good guidance for town staff as well as us to know where the boundaries are when it comes to this and things like that. So, because the whole activity going on in Wildcat Falls, I would have interpreted our path a little bit differently, but that's okay. I think we got to where we needed to be. But there are things that are hard to decide on. So I don't know if the council wants to take a position, if the council wants to take it case by case. I think either way can work.
That makes good sense to understand what level of management Conservation Commission will have on these properties. Can you shoot me an email with some maybe examples of previous issues that arose, just so I can mention it at the retreat to bring it up for discussion?
That's this Friday, right?
Yeah, just any brief examples, if they ask me what I'm referring to. And that way I can say, these were case history briefly on a few of these things, just to say, this is what they're referring to and so forth.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not asking for a detailed report, just some of your thoughts.
That's all I've got, Steve.
Okay. I guess the only comment I had, I know we exchanged some emails a few weeks back. I know some of the commissions and boards in town are meeting in person. I don't think it's something any of us would want to do unless all of us are completely comfortable with that. And unfortunately, there's not an option to do a hybrid meeting, which probably would have been the best case scenario. But I guess that's something we can talk about. When is our next meeting scheduled, Gina? Do you know? Sorry to put you on the spot like that. I should know. It's the one piece of paper I don't have sitting in front of me. Gina's so angry I put her on the spot that she left the meeting.
Well, to avoid silence, if anyone has a Mac, I found that the app called Spark is an email client. It works pretty well on my Mac to handle the town email system, because the town email system is a little bit older, and compatibility with some of the newer versions of Office and stuff like that kind of went away. So just a note, Spark.
We don't meet again till September 21st.
Okay. Well, and that one's scheduled to be a virtual meeting. Maybe it's an issue. We can just talk about it then and decide, chart a path going forward. Who knows? Maybe someone will have a scheduled date for the new normal at that point. but sure, did I skip anyone? Anyone have a comment that left out? No? Would anyone like to make a final motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, by roll call vote, I'm a yes. Gina?
Yes.
Let's see, Mike?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Mike Swisher?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Eric? Eric? You got to do it off mute or it doesn't count.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you all and have a wonderful night.
Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning. I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
and many moments so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.